Welcome back to Burnout Break Room, the podcast that's like a break room but helpful, where we look at burnout through a realistic lens, talk about ways to take a break from the grind, and spill the tea. I'm Caitlin Truhella, creativity coach and speaker.
And I'm Lyndie Larimore, licensed therapist, certified career coach, and consultant.
We are your hosts, and thank you for joining us here in the Burnout Break Room. How you doing, Lindy?
You know what, Caitlin? I'm grateful for a lot of good opportunities to hang out with some good people in my life. I making some good music. I am accessing some good groups of women and great people that are putting a lot of support and positivity out into the community. And I'm a little tired. I'm a little tired. How about you?
Honestly, in the same vein, I have more things that are going on, but and happy about a lot of those things. Again, similar to what you're talking about with the different projects, and also in this way, the joy of work, and but specifically the joy of working with some really cool people and being grateful for those opportunities. But yeah, still being tired as a result.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah, and it feels like a good moment to practice a little bit of what I preach
Mm,
around preventing some burnout. I feel like I'm starting to coast into that burnt area, like
mm,
burnout ahead.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, in so many of the episodes previous, we've talked about ways to recognize when burnout is starting to creep in, or even just recognizing like falling into maybe like old patterns
Mm.
where I mean, to be perfectly honest and speak for myself, some of my older patterns are definitely including overload
Mhm.
because of all the different things that I want to do or like be a part of, which they're all very positive,
Mhm.
but again, just being like taking a moment to be realistic about what you're physically able to do
Mhm.
and take those things one step at a time. And yeah, what as we've said from the beginning, we absolutely want the burnout break room to be a place where we can be honest about that
Mhm. Mhm.
because there already is so much power in being able to pause and say, I'm tired or I'm
Mm.
exhausted.
And speaking of pausing, we have a bit of an announcement. Caitlin and I have been having some really great conversations about exactly what we're talking about, kind of practicing what we preach, being accountable to the messaging that we have out there in the world through our podcast, but also recognizing the moment that we're in. And I will say, Caitlin, I feel as if burnout no longer speaks to what people are experiencing in this moment.
Yeah. With a lot of what we're experiencing right now, both individually and as a collective, we very much want to honor and recognize what that experience is because this has exceeded the state of burnout,
Mhm.
and especially when recognizing that this particular kind of exhaustion and anger goes beyond burnout because it is a result of the systems that we live in.
Mhm.
And so we absolutely want to recognize that as we talk about burnout and as we talk about ways to take care of ourselves and each other, that this does not come across as 100% the individual's responsibility.
Mhm.
Because when we're forced to try and survive within these broken systems, it is a form of gaslighting. And that
Mm.
is the last thing that we want to do.
Mm.
And
Absolutely.
so, yes.
Yeah, well said, Caitlin. And you and I started this conversation a little while ago, and I was just so grateful to have a conversation with a social worker friend of mine who shared that this is a conversation happening on a larger scale. And the way that they described it was we've moved as a society from conversations about burnout. And the next step up from burnout is compassion fatigue. So for those who work with, especially those who work in service industries or with people or serving people in any way, compassion fatigue is a very real thing. They're saying that even that doesn't fully speak to the moment that we're in, and so they described a term that I'd never heard before, but felt so real. And what they described it as was moral injury.
Mm.
And I'm going to read the definition because it's powerful. So the moral injury definition. This comes from the International Center for Moral Injury in Durham University. A profound sense of broken trust in ourselves, our leaders, governments, and institutions to act in just and morally good ways, and the experience of sustained and enduring negative emotions, guilt, shame, contempt, and anger that result from the betrayal, violation, or suppression of deeply held or shared moral values. So,
Ooh, I just want to take a moment and say I think this is a perfect definition and description for what we're experiencing right now.
it helped me better understand and put words to why I no longer feel comfortable kind of sitting in the burnout break room for now, if that makes sense, because it seems like even just calling it that implies that, like you said, Caitlin, that this is just burnout, which is very serious and not to be
Mm-hmm.
ignored. But there is implications when we talk about burnout that we need to change something,
Mm-hmm.
change our jobs, do more self-care, take a bubble bath, like, of course, we make
Mm-hmm.
fun of that, but moral injury implies that we are a part of systems that are broken. And when I read that definition, it felt so powerful for me and felt like it spoke to more the moment that I'm in, even personally, because even as a therapist, there are certain systems that we assume will be in place in order for us to do our work, whether it's certain kinds of grants or funding, insurance, the acknowledgement that mental health is important enough for it to be prioritized in budgets and
Mm-hmm.
researched. Certain organizations like Department of Mental Health or SAMHSA or NAMI, behavioral health government organizations are very much a part of what helps us do our job, even in private practice, whether or not you work in community mental health. We sometimes take for granted, like all of these things are a really important part of what helps me sit in front of a client in the day to day. And now therapists and social workers are faced with this kind of dread that, we could wake up and find out that therapy is no longer legal, or that we are recognizing that even if we diagnose in a certain way, folks could be at serious risk of retaliation. So I say all this to say, when you can no longer trust the systems that support the work that you do and the values that you hold, it's hard to feel excited, it's hard to feel energized, it's hard to feel motivated, and it looks like burnout, but you kind of know it's something a little bit deeper.
Absolutely. And the other piece that I'm recalling from my superficial education into psychology is also Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So as the those top pieces of the pyramid are chipped away at, and more people are experiencing having to prioritize even just the most basic ways that they can access having their needs met. And case in point, right now with the food assistance and SNAP benefits not being available to millions and millions of people in this country. It goes to show that of course someone experiencing that is going to be in a survival mentality, and to approach somebody in a survival mentality with talking about just burnout in a general sense is, I would say, not holding the right kind of space for them. And yeah, so in that same way, we want to recognize that people are experiencing more than just burnout. That being said, we from the very beginning wanted this to be a space where we could recognize what we're going through, the struggles that we've either had in the past that we've learned from or are actively seeking to heal from. And of course, a way that we can also take care of each other and celebrate our wins. And that still holds true today. But again, we want to do it in a very conscious and in a way where, people can show up in that authenticity. And again, these ways that we can be unburdened by some of those masks and talk honestly about these things.
Hmm. Yeah. So we want to take a very mindful and intentional pause and regroup and practice a little bit of burnout prevention ourselves, or I guess we're going to call it moral injury prevention now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or just acknowledging that this is a heavy moment, and probably will continue to be for a bit, and it will probably get worse before it gets better. So connecting with the things that are life-giving and keep us connected to hope feels really important right now. And also thinking about this project that we really care deeply about as a way, we hope that it's provided some help and some healing and some tips and some ideas. And we want to continue to think in that way. And it just feels right now that it's again just no longer supporting the moment in the way that we wanted to when we set out to do this, which we've reminded ourselves. Our conversation started about this project in February of this year, 2025. And I don't know about you, Caitlin, but that feels like it was a different world in a way to me than it is right now.
It absolutely does in so many ways.
Hmm. So, thank you so much. It has been so wonderful to spend time in the break room with all of you. And we also want to say, like, if you have any, we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear if there's been anything that's been particularly helpful, things that you would like to not see go away, or things that, any thoughts you have about how, podcasts that could be helpful in this moment. But we just really appreciate you coming back week after week and sharing this with your friends. We hope that we've been able to help you work through some burnout.
Absolutely. Yeah, we really do appreciate that feedback because again, just as Lindy said, we intended this space from the very beginning to be of service to the community. And in that same way, if there's other things that we can, incorporate maybe in the future to support that building of trust in these communities, or even, just having conversations that, keep people connected. And because we fully recognize that maintaining, I mean, any degree of hope is really, really hard right now.
Mhm.
And it can't just be one person's responsibility. The way I look at hope personally is like a hot potato scenario.
Mm,
It's something that we can pass around a little bit. Everybody gets a turn, contributing, but if the expectation is for one person to hold it the entire time,
mhm,
that is exhausting on its own.
mhm.
And so if we all continue working together and supporting each other in everything about this that's difficult, then I think it's a lot easier to carry that hope together.
Yeah, find your people, find your community, find the things that bring you joy, find the beauty, like we've said in the past. This is that moment. a nice blanket and some tea, whatever you need. And we're so grateful to all of you, and we're sending lots of love out into the universe and hoping that, stirs something up, maybe.
Yes, I think a little bit of mischief is called for too, and exercising some of that rage through rebellion. I
hmm
definitely feel that.
hmm hmm Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Caitlin, for being such an amazing co-host and friend and collaborator, and for, helping this vision come to life. And we hope to continue to collaborate. And yeah, just thank you.
And thank you to all our listeners and, our sponsors and everyone who has been supportive of this idea and the space, everyone who's contributed. And thank you as well, Lyndie, for all your contributions and every very conscious and thoughtful way that you have brought really, really good information and perspectives into this place and making the break room a honestly, I would say a sacred space
Mm.
because it is really special to be able to hold this kind of space for these concepts and these people. And yeah, I loved every part of this learning experience and all of the amazing people that we've got to meet and talk with in the past and the connections that we've made. And I've certainly learned a lot. So thank you for that.
Yes. Well, I guess we'll say goodbye for now.
Until next time.